Shabbat Shalom. There's a teaching in Pirkei Avot that goes as follows. 10 things were created on the eve of Shabbat at twilight. Asara dvarim nivra'u ba'erev Shabbat bein hashmashot ve'elu hen. And these are them. The mouth of the earth, the mouth of the well, the mouth of the donkey, the rainbow, the manna, the staff of Moses, the shamir, the letters, the writing, and the tablets. Already kind of a strange list, but then it continues, and some say also the demons, the grave of Moses, the ram of Abraham our father, and some say, and also tongs, made with tongs. Okay, you probably didn't see tongs ending up on this list during creation, but I am now tempted to do a kitchen utensils creation sermon, so expect that in 2025. But we're not going to do that today. But we do have these 10 things created, bein hashmashot, at twilight, this mystical time between day and night, here and there, earth and heavens. This is not just any twilight. This is the twilight of the first Shabbat during creation, during the time where everything is being born, created, imagined, and among them, these 10 things. In understanding the category of these things, the 16th century scholar and mystic, the Maharal, says, the twilight period before the first Shabbat has a dual quality. It is still Friday, so it's still a day of creation, but it is Shabbat, a day above creation. The things created at that time are miraculous and not of the natural order, but are still creations of God. Even the things on this list that may seem straightforward are not. There's something else happening with them. And why are they being created before the stories even happen? We have the manna that the people will subsist on as they wander through the desert, the staff of Moses that will be the actor in much of the Exodus story and freeing the people from Egypt, the tablets on which the 10 Commandments will be carved and our whole experience as a people will begin. God, in creating the world, also created some miraculous things, some things that wouldn't play out until much later, but already existed somewhere in the fabric of the world that was coming into being. Let's look at the first 3. Pi haaretz, pi haba'er, pi ha'aton. The mouth of the earth, the mouth of the well, the mouth of the donkey. The mouth of the earth may be familiar to you because of the story of Korach in the book of Numbers. After Korach's rebellion, we read, Vatiftach haaretz ad piha v'tivla otam. The mouth of the earth opened up and swallowed them, their households, people, and possessions. That is pi haaretz. And then we have pi haba'er, the mouth of the well. The well here is thought to be the well of Miriam, the one that miraculously existed and accompanied the Israelites on their journey through the desert. Every step of the way, they were able to have water until Miriam died and the well disappeared. That is pi haba'er. You still with me? Okay. And then, finally, we have the third, pi ha'aton, the mouth of the donkey. A reference to the story of Bilam and his donkey, where the donkey sees something on the path ahead that Bilam does not see. And then, Vatiftach Hashem et pi ha'aton, vatomer leVilam ma asiti lecha. The Torah says that God opened the donkey's mouth to speak. The donkey speaks. All 3 of these things seem supernatural somehow. An earth that opens its mouth to swallow people, a well that accompanies people through the desert the whole time until Miriam dies, a donkey that speaks. Like the Maharal said, there's something miraculous about all of these 10 things. There is something outside the natural order about this. All of these have some kind of physical dimension and also a spiritual dimension. Grounded, rooted, present in our stories, and also miraculous, supernatural, unexpected. The earth, the well, the donkey. But what if I told you that I don't think it's that well that they're talking about here? The well that accompanied the people, Miriam's well. There's something about it that doesn't quite match up with the other 2 things from the Mishnah. With pi haaretz and pi ha'aton, we see them quoted as such in the Torah, both referenced exactly. But we have no mention of Miriam's well with the language of pi haba'er. Not one. There is only one place in the Torah where we see pi haba'er. Only one scene in which that is the language used to describe a well. And it's in, can you guess, this week's parsha. In this week's parsha, we have a well. Soon after Jacob has had his first dream and encounter with God, he sees the ladder, the angels going up and down, the dream in which God speaks to him and talks about the future that will unfold for Jacob. And then famously, he wakes up and realizes that God had been there and he had no idea. He sets up a pillar, a monument to God, and then he continues on his journey. There's some strange language here that I'm going to save for my kitchen utensils creation sermon. But then we read that Vayar v'hine be'er basadeh. We read that he looked and he saw a well in the field. V'hine sham shlosha edrei tzon rovtzim aleha. There were 3 flocks of sheep. Ki min ha'be'er hahi yashku ha'adorim. Because that's where the flocks of sheep were watered. This seems fairly unremarkable. Jacob is wandering. He sees a well. There are sheep. Unlike Miriam's well, there doesn't seem to be anything mystical or spiritual about this. Not much to note. Except at the end of that verse, when Jacob sees the well, it says, V'ha'even gedola al pi ha'be'er. The stone on the mouth of the well was large. Pi ha'be'er. There it is, the phrase from Pirkei Avot. The first time we see this phrase in the Torah, the other 4 times are in the following verses in this same scene. He sees the well, remarks on the stone, and then the shepherds explain to him the process of waiting until all of the flocks are gathered and then rolling the stone off the well in order to water them, this very difficult physical task. Back in our scene with Jacob, we then read, Vayigash Yaakov vayagel et ha'even me'al pi ha'be'er. Jacob had seen Rachel and Lavan, and then he went and rolled the stone off the mouth of the well. Pirkei Avot says 10 things were created bein hashmashot, all of which have some kind of metaphysical quality. One is pi ha'be'er, which we have now seen here. But what about this is metaphysical or spiritual? Miriam's well made sense. The miracle of it accompanying the people through the desert for all of those years. What about this? To begin to see it, we have to look again at the language. When Jacob rolls the stone off the well, it says, Vayagel et ha'even. The 16th century commentary Mizrahi explains it as follows. Vanirali shehotzeo ze medichtiv vayagel milshon gilui, velo vayigalgel milshon gilgul. The word vayagel used here comes from the expression gilui, to reveal something. It is not vayigalgel, which would come from the expression of rolling something. Instead of being associated with rolling, it's associated with revealing. Jacob is revealing something when he removes the stone from the mouth of the well. The language of revealing something starts to feel a little more aligned with this earlier list, things that also have some kind of spiritual quality, not just a physical one. But what is it exactly that he revealed? And how does it help the argument that maybe this was the well the Mishnah was talking about all along? For that, we need to look at the great Hasidic master, the Sfat Emet, or more accurately, the Sfas Emes, if you ask the true followers. He begins by explaining that there is a divine source within everything that provides life and sustenance, and that is symbolized by this well in the field. And with wisdom and intellect, someone can always perceive and recognize this inner life force. Now, we're getting a little bit closer to the spiritual here. There's something deeper represented by this well, this place of water and of life, something that has to be revealed. Even in this seemingly desolate place, the Sfat Emet explains, there is a well, there is water, there is life. Initially, at first glance, it just seems to be a bare field stretching out as far as the eye can see, but that isn't it. There are things hidden below the surface, underneath what we may see at first. There is a deeper truth. There is something else. The Sfat Emet goes on to explain that it's not just that we see the field and don't expect to see a well. It's that there are also other impediments to our seeing more deeply, to our understanding a more profound truth. And in our story here, that is the stone. He explains that when the spiritual source, in this case the well, the giver of water, the sustenance, manifests in the physical world, it becomes obscured, making it difficult to perceive the truth because of physical distraction. And that is the problem. It's easy to see this field and stone and well and miss everything else. But the well represents something spiritual, maybe metaphysical too, something more profound. but it can't be accessed because something is in the way. And until it is moved, we will only see what's directly in front of us, not able to even imagine there might be something else. And so Jacob, in moving it out of the way, is able to reveal what is underneath, to access this life force. I do not think it's a coincidence that this happens right after Jacob first encounters God in his dream, a moment that marks a turning point for Jacob. He has spent his life making complicated and questionable choices up until this moment, but encountering God starts to shift something for him. He recognizes something greater than himself. He comes to this well and he sees something in it, something that is blocked, just like he has been, removed from his true inner self, his hopes, his dreams, his capacity to be better than he has been before. And it's in that moment that he meets Rachel, the love of his life. He is able to access a part of himself he never could before, a piece of himself that was closed off and shut down with the deception and lies and manipulations on his path. He encounters God, he finds this well, and then he recognizes that it gives him an opportunity to choose something different than he might have chosen before, a chance to clear away what is visible and reveal something else. And it also gives him Rachel, this deep and profound love, one of the only descriptions of romantic love in the Torah, a lifelong kind of love. What is more mystical than that? At first glance, this well just seemed like it was a physical thing, a well in a field, a short stop on Jacob's very long journey, not deserving of much attention or recognition. But what about now? After Pi Habe'er and the stone and Gilui revealing and the deep inner world the well represents and the Herculean effort to remove the stone in order to see what else was there and love at first sight with Rachel and a potential turning point in Jacob's story, does it still seem like it's only a simple object? Or does it maybe seem like something that holds both a physical, tangible quality and a spiritual, mystical, miraculous quality? Like the Maharal said, maybe something befitting having been created bein hashmashot, at the very beginning of creation. 10 things, 3 of them, pi haaretz, pi habe'er, pi ha'aton. One opens its mouth to swallow things up, one opens its mouth unexpectedly to speak, and one allows us to access something else, a buried truth, a clarity, a life force, our deeper selves, and then it allows that self to speak. What if it's that well, this well? What if that's the well that Pirkei Avot meant the whole time? Then what does that mean for us? If it's not about the well that miraculously accompanied the people through the desert, what is it that we learn from this scene with Jacob that we can take into our lives? What work is there for us to do? Because as we know, there's always work to do. Throughout our lives, no matter who we are, there are times where we only see the surface of something and times where we move something out of the way and a deeper truth is revealed. Maybe this is a hidden truth about yourself, your family, your job, or the stories that you tell yourself. Sometimes you've sat at the same kitchen table for many months or many years and then suddenly noticed something about the painting on the wall that you've never seen before. Or maybe in the 1,000th argument you have with your partner about the dishes, washing them, loading the dishwasher, unloading the dishwasher, putting the dishes away, you realize that it's really not about the dishes. It never really was. It's about something else, some pattern that has shown up again and again, or some aggregate of small miscommunications and missteps over the course of years. So much of the time, it's not the thing it purports to be. It's not just a field, or a field with a well, or a stone. It's something else. Part of what we can take with us from this story is a reminder to investigate what might be blocking our truths, our inner self, or even just the things right in front of us that we've never noticed before. It might take 1,000 times looking at the same painting, or 1,000 of the same fight about the dishes. And unlike Jacob, it will likely not be a feat of physical strength that uncovers our deepest truths. But maybe something physical does help. Maybe a hike or a drive to the mountains or a walk by the beach shifts something in your consciousness that has been stuck. Or at least you start to notice something for the first time. Or maybe you need to get really quiet. You need to see what surfaces when you're alone with your thoughts in a quiet room, park, cafe, or maybe you need to speak to yourself. Maybe you need to say out loud the truths you've been afraid to utter. Or maybe you need to just start talking and see what you learn about yourself. Maybe there are things that have been waiting to come out. Maybe you need to shift the narrative you are telling yourself about yourself. Jacob only had one story of himself until this dream of the ladder and his encounter with the well. Maybe the story you're telling yourself is holding you back too. The one you inherited as a child, that something was wrong with you because you didn't fit into the mold you were given, spending your whole life contorting yourself to try to be something you were never going to be. Maybe that's what's in the way. Or maybe you need to go to therapy. But actually, maybe you need someone outside of you to help you see what's holding you back, the things that are blocking you from who you could be. It may be hard to find the opening, the small thing that might allow you to access something greater, but it's possible. One thing I know is the well is there, just like Jacob saw it in the middle of the field. How to roll the stone off the well, though, that is part of each of our own journeys. That's part of our own discovery. But the well is there. Look out, and when you see a field with a stone on a well, look again. Look deeper, adjust your vision. There is something hidden beneath that stone. See what you might be able to draw up. There is a teaching in Pirkei Avot that goes as follows. 10 things were created on the eve of Shabbat at twilight, and one of them was the mouth of the well. Shabbat shalom.